Another interesting session of Export Discourse. Thank you very much for joining today. Thank you very much for joining today. Remember, on every Friday, we have this session where we answer different questions as far as export business is concerned. Wherever you are in the world, you are free to ask your questions as far as export business is concerned, and I will be very much happy to answer your questions. We've been doing some series online, and different series we've been doing on Zoom every Thursday by 5 p.m. And the conversation have been around leveraging ICT for export market access. Leveraging ICT for export market access. And we've discussed so many things. And people have asked different questions actually. And I often tell them that the question is not to be asked on the this question is not to be asked on the Zoom call on Thursday, but whoever have questions should join us on a day like this Friday to get answer to his question. On a day like this Friday to get answer to his question. So if you are just joining us for the first time, either because you saw the link to this program somewhere, what we are discussing is export and export to different countries. Wherever you are, whatever question you have as far as export is concerned, feel free to ask. The service is usually free, even though you could have paid for it. But this time around, we're having a free service. This time around, we're having a free service. So it's a free service for you to be able to enjoy. It's a free service for you to be able to enjoy it with us. So feel free, please. Feel free to ask your question. So I will be waiting to hear from you on the question you will be asking, and answer your question as much as I can. If I can't get answer immediately, I can do the research and come back to you next week. If it's something I won't be able to answer immediately, but I'm sure to a large extent, I think I'll be able to answer most questions you'll be asking me as far as your export business is concerned. So feel free to ask your questions. Feel free to ask your questions. Someone asked a question yesterday during the program, and I said I'm going to be answering it today. And that question was that he said, how time demanding is the entire export business? Do you recommend it for someone who is willing yet has an 8 to 4 job? Yet has an 8 to 4 job? And I said, yes, you can do export by the side. Actually, you can do export by the side. As a matter of fact, if you are just starting out, you don't need to quit your job to be able to do export. As a matter of fact, if you are just starting out, you don't need to quit your job to be able to do export. You can do export by the side, and we have a program called From Export Novice to Export Legend that can help you and work with you to make that a reality. And that's the beauty of export business. Because in exporting, you don't need to be the producer of the product you are trying to export. You do not need to be the producer of the product you are trying to export. And because you don't need to be the producer of the product you are trying to export, because you don't need to be the producer of the product you're trying to export, what that basically does is that it makes it possible for you to be able to export by the side. That means what you need is to get a manufacturer who is going to produce for you, maybe a white labeling, contract manufacturing, or you are basically a merchant who simply buy and sell. Or you are basically a merchant who simply buy and sell. Whichever option you have chosen, whichever of these options you are choosing, is fine. It's fine. So you don't need to. However, you need someone to work with you by the side. You need someone to work with you by the side who can take those burdens off you such that that individual will be available to do the legwork for you. That individual will be available to do the legwork for you. And guess what? One of the things we do at 3T Impairs is actually helping you to do that legwork. One of the things we do at 3T Impairs is actually helping you to do that legwork. So we can actually help you carry that burden. We can help you carry that burden. We can help you carry that burden. We can assist you by the side. We can assist you by the side. That means we can help you with the port activities. If you are able to get someone who is producing for you, you pay them, they move the goods to the port. We can handle all the other details for you and do the shipment for you, and the money comes to your account. So what that basically means is that you can effectively run the export business, outsourcing the production, outsourcing the shipping operation, outsourcing the production, but you will need to do some work around the buyer. We can work with you on that, but you need to be involved in that, being able to work together buyer. So I hope I've answered that question. Someone said, peradventure, I want to start my export business next month or in 2 months' time. How do I plan such project? Number one, you need to be export ready. Number one, you need to be export ready. Number one, you need to be export ready. To be export ready means you can export, you can do the export business successfully and sustainably, and there are tools online available to help you do that readiness assessment. So you can do that readiness assessment. There are tools available online that can enable you to easily do that readiness assessment. So Muyiwa, The first thing is the planning. In fact, what the readiness assessment does is to help you to be able to plan effectively. It helps you to identify the areas of planning that you need to consider. It helps you to identify the area of planning. As a matter of fact, you will discover 15 areas of readiness. 15 areas of readiness. And because of these 15 areas of readiness, you are able to know the areas you are to plan. Those online, those on, I can see questions on Facebook. Those on YouTube, please feel free to drop your question. Good evening, Josiah Ufono. Thank you for joining. So you can drop your question. It's an expert discourse, and basically we are addressing questions, and this happens every Friday. We call it expert discourse. It's basically an avenue for people to be able to ask any question they have as far as expert business is concerned, and we are going to answer those questions. So please feel free to drop it, your question. Good evening, Stage Julia Media. John said, I see you talk about leveraging ICT for export marketing using YouTube. If I may ask, what are the steps involved in leveraging for this course? When you say, what are the steps involved in leveraging for this course? John, your question is not very clear. What are the steps involved in leveraging YouTube for this course? What do you mean? Do you mean in leveraging YouTube for export? I want you to correct your question. If it is in leveraging YouTube for export, we have a whole pack we're working on right now. The pack is called How to Find Buyers Abroad. The pack is called How to Find Buyers Abroad. It's a whole pack. And what we've done with that pack is to put this answer to this question that John is asking inside a box that enables you to be able to know get answer to that question. And I've dropped a link also on the chat that will help to be able to also find that out. So John, you can join us every week on that. But the idea basically is that the same marketing you do online, you can do it on YouTube for international market. And there are protocols to converting the contact you get to contract. Let me go to YouTube. Someone said, okay, Josiah, I have answered your question before you came. I will repeat the answer to that question. The question you are asking is how you can combine. And I said you can effectively combine. You can effectively combine both of them. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can. If someone, okay, I can't see. I'm trying to see if I can drop that chart myself. I don't. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go on YouTube on my. Let me go on YouTube on my device and see if I can do that. I'm trying to see if I can join the YouTube session on my own device so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I will do that right now. I will do that right now so that those of you that are on YouTube will be able to get the same information I'm trying to draw. But in answering your question, why I'm doing that, in answering your question, Josiah, I said, yes, you can combine. And I said, what make it easier for you to be able to combine actually is the fact that you don't need to be the producer of what you are trying to export. You don't need to be the producer of what you are trying to export. And because you don't need to be the producer of what you are trying to export, that is what makes it a lot easier and possible. So Josiah, I've dropped the message in the chat now. I'm trying to get that link. So you don't need to produce what you're exporting. And because you don't need to be the producer, what that means is that you can work with people who will produce for you, and you can work with people who can help you with the shipment. I've dropped the link on the chat on YouTube. And we can help you do the shipment. So we can work with you to get your buyer. You get someone to produce for you, and we can do the shipment on your behalf, and the money comes to your account. So very possible for you to export while you're on a paid employment. As a staff of a bank, I was exporting. Before I left bank in 2010, I exported as a staff of a bank because I don't need to be the one producing. So it doesn't distract me from my job because I'm not the one producing. When the good is produced, the agent put it in the truck, move the truck to the port, and do the shipment. So I have an agent handling the shipment at the port. I have someone sourcing. So I do not have to be there physically because I can get reliable people to work with. So it's very possible. Someone said, I've been able to determine my readiness. Does that also include way of determining the price? Of course. One of the evidence of readiness is that you know your pricing. In the 15P of export readiness, we have the promoter that needs to be ready. The product has to be ready. The pricing has to be ready. The predisposition of the staff must be ready. The purpose must be ready. You must be ready in terms of purpose. You must be ready in terms of promotion, being able to promote. You must be ready in terms of positioning. You must be ready in terms of paperwork. You must be ready in terms of payment, sourcing funding, and getting paid. You must be ready in terms of proficiency. You must be ready in terms of understanding the people at destination. You must be ready in terms of the potential of the product you are trying to export. You must be ready in terms of partnership at destination, and of course, ready in terms of purchasers at destination. So, in answer to your question, Muiwa, yes, you're very correct. By your readiness, by the time you're really readiness, if you are really ready, your pricing will be ready. Dare said, sir, which country has the highest export demand for palm oil? Demand. Because I would love to export palm oil, and how about a product that is a good product for export? I won't be able to do that search for you right away. I know they are in Europe and America, but I won't be able to do that search for you right away. But I can assist with that information if it becomes necessary for you. But Palm oil is definitely a product that is worthy of considering for export. Someone said this has always been insightful session. Please, what are the necessary things to put in place in order to ensure my products are available to the global market? What do I need to put in place to ensure my products are available to the global market? Michael, that question is not very clear. What do I need to put in place to ensure my products are available to the global market? The question is not clear. What you need to put in place for your product to be available? The question is not clear to me. How profitable is export ratio tensor? How profitable? How profitable? It is profitable, very profitable, particularly in Nigeria, and the reason is because of exchange rate differentials. Okay, I'm trying to check other question on YouTube. Please. So I know of someone who is visually impaired. Do you think such an one can go into export? He will need a representative to work with him. He can go into export if he has the funding, but he definitely need a representative. If he has a child, maybe the children. If he's married, maybe the spouse or his siblings, or a family member. But I would strongly recommend he needs to get someone. He definitely can go into export, but he needs a support because he needs to be able to see what he wants to export. Sir, is it possible to export everything or have a specific niche? Don't export everything. Look for a niche. The reason is because actually not every product is profitable for export. Not every product in Nigeria is profitable for export. eBay, not every product. So that means you really cannot export every product because not every product is profitable for export. For example, a product like soybeans is not profitable for export from Nigeria. A product like soybeans is not profitable for export from Nigeria. So, and it's because of the cost of production. A product like coal, not charcoal, coal is not profitable for export. So not all products you can export because not all products are profitable for export. Someone said, can I leverage on Konga and Jumia? No. Those are, when you think of Konga and Jumia, those are retail export. And those are not, when I talk about export, those are not what I talk about export. That is like doing Alibaba. So it's not, when I think of export, those are not the kind of export I am talking about. So when I talk about export, I'm talking about export on a large scale. Export that will go by air or by sea, not in piecemeal. So that I don't encourage someone that wants to export to be selling on Amazon. Oh God, good evening, long time, how are you? Good to see you. I don't encourage someone to go on Amazon and say he wants to export. No. That's not a place to look for buyer for export. Amazon is not a place. Jumia and Konga is not a place. Those are retail transactions. It's only retail you do on such platform. Someone is asking a question on YouTube. He said, someone said, someone on YouTube is saying, a buyer is only willing to drop only letter from his bank. Though I am here with company, do you think it's good to go ahead? Stage Julia Media. Please, that question is not very clear. Can you redraft that question, please? Liz Oluwadare, good evening. How are you? Can you redraft that question, please? Please redraft that question. That question is not clear. The question you're asking on YouTube is not clear. What other measure do I need to put in place? How do I get funding for export? Very good. Now, measure to put in place, I guess, is referring to your first question. I don't understand your first question. You need to redraft it. But the second question, how do I get funding for export? My recommendation, use your money when you are starting export. Use your money to start. If you are able to do it your money successfully, you will get funding, even from bank. If you can do it, show evidence you are doing it successfully. Bank will be willing to fund you, but you must demonstrate that you have been able to do it successfully. So if you have not been able to do it with your own money, it will be challenging to get funding. That's the truth. That's the truth, particularly from bank. But if you have family and friends who believe in you, who can work together with you, that might be a good way. You know, when someone is looking for funding, sometimes we think only in terms of cash. You are trying to get cash, but your relationship can attract cash to you. Your credibility evidence you have done it before can attract cash to you. Your character can attract cash to you. So you can leverage on all this to be able to get cash. Working with people that trust you to raise money from them will be better for a start if you don't have the money. Don't go to bank. Bank will not listen to you because they will see you as a startup and it will be high risk for them. What are the risks involved in export? One of the major risks involved in export is exporting and not getting paid. One of the major risks in export is exporting and not getting paid. There is a question on Instagram, or I'm coming to your question on Instagram. One of the major risks is exporting and not getting paid. And one of the ways to mitigate that risk, if you don't get a payment instrument like letter of credit to protect yourself, is to have a representative at destination. I'm currently working on a book on how to find buyer abroad that answer a number of these questions. One of the ways you can do it is just ensure you have a rep at destination. Another challenge with export is quality. Quality is a sign that you don't know your product well. You don't know how to preserve if it's commodity. For a starter in export, I recommend don't do commodity, do finished product. I export Indomie, I export pap, I export kuli, I export broom, I export malt. They are all finished product from Nigeria. They don't have quality issues. Someone said, I want to start my export business next month. How do I plan such export? Okay, now I've answered that question. Someone said, for this current season, what products are profitable for export? We are currently in raining season. Anybody that wants to go into export now should wait till after the rain. Later in the year. So that means later in the year, what you will be looking at later in the year is for example, sesame seed, ginger, cashew nut. Those are all profitable commodity for export in Nigeria. But I would recommend you wait till later in the year when the season starts. Someone said, I have a tax consultant for some years now, but I really want to start trade. What do you advise for someone like me coming from the area? Because that area, I feel that just checking online can't actually build my level of confidence in terms of risk involved. But can I get service like a monitoring program where I can always have a conversation with it and training? Yes. We have a mentoring program. We call it export mentoring program. So we have an export mentoring program that can make that happen for you. We call it from export novice to export legend. We call it from export novice to export legend. The export novice to export legend program makes it possible for you to be able to learn and at the same time have someone to hold your hand and walk with you side by side in order to minimize the risk of going into export business. I'm going to drop a link now, a link for the export novice to export legend. I'm going to drop it on the Facebook chat and also drop it on YouTube. I've dropped it on YouTube. Now, someone said, how do I get export license? That's on Instagram. How do I get export license, NAFDAC registration, and customer overseas? Interesting. Customer overseas, I'm working on a book on that. So many options available. You can use online, you can use offline, you can use B2B platform. There's so many options available. I've talked about 10 different options available for you can explore to get buyer abroad. That book is going to be out next month. Pre-order is currently going on. You can get pre-order. It's a pack. It's a pack of 2 books and some seed DVDs. And it's a pack and it's 50,000 naira. You can get that. Getting export license is very easy. Getting export license is very easy. Go on the NEPC website, fill in the form, pay 13.5 with your card. You get your export license within a day or 2. And you don't need to know anybody. But more importantly is that the export license actually, the export license require you to be a limited liability company. Require you to be a limited liability company. Limited liability company require for you to be a you need a limited liability company for you to be able to and you need to, and the business must have export as its objective. So limited liability company and export must be one of the objective of the business. Export must be one of the objective of the business. NAFDAC, I would recommend don't go for NAFDAC. Get someone who have NAFDAC to produce for you. As your business grow, you can find a way to learn about to get NAFDAC later. But don't worry about NAFDAC. Whatever product you want to do, you want to export, you need someone who already have NAFDAC to produce for you and they can produce for you in your brand. That's what I would recommend for you. Someone said, how much is the lowest money that you can use for export? Lowest. I get this question all the time. I will say 1 million naira. I will say 1 million naira. I will say 1 million naira. Which payment method is more preferable to an exporter with respect to risk mitigation? Letter of credit. Letter of credit. Letter of credit. Letter of credit is most preferred. I have a contract to supply commodity from Nigeria, but the buyer is only willing to give me a letter from his bank. Which letter the stage media, stage multimedia, which letter? Is it just ordinary letter? Or is it a letter of credit? Is it just ordinary letter or a letter of credit? Please confirm that. All right, any other question? Any other question? The person that asked question about doing business by export business by the side when you're on the paid job, I've answered that. You want to do export business on the paid side, is very possible. And finished product, not raw material. If you do raw materials, it might be a bit challenging. But finished product, you won't have to worry about quality of actual goods. $1 million does not include money one we used to learn. No, it doesn't. 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 It doesn't include money to learn. I'm talking about the money to do the shipment. Sir, can one focus on exporting Ankara ready to wear? Yes, very correct. Very correct. But not to Canada, maybe to US, but preferably to the UK and to other parts of Africa. Countries that are very cold, they don't like those kind of clothing. Not that they don't use it, but the demand is not so high. But fashion is one area we have not taken very seriously. Fashion and cosmetics. Fashion and cosmetics. Fashion and cosmetics. Those two areas we have not taken them very, very seriously. For export. Fashion and cosmetics. Any other question before we close? It's about 40 minutes already. Export Discourse happen. Ronke Lori, good evening. Export Discourse happen every Thursday. Every Thursday by 5 p.m. Sorry, every Friday by 5 p.m. The seminar happen every Thursday. But the question and answer happen every Friday. The seminar happen on Zoom. But the discussion, practical discussion, question and answer happen on Friday by 5 p.m. So those that have joined today, thank you very much for joining. We had Josiah on YouTube, Stage Julia Multimedia. Thank you for joining. Then we have Ogo from Instagram, Liz Oluwadare, S. Adealuko, Ronke Ilori, and Sadon. Thank you for joining. And we have so many other people joining also on Facebook. Rebecca, thank you for joining. Muiwa, thank you for joining. Grace, thank you for joining. Chinwe Ibe, thank you for joining. And all the people that have asked questions. Someone is still asking a question. How do I enter a new export market? I've documented that in a pack called How to Get Buyer Abroad. I know it's a big question everybody's asking. I've documented it. It will be out next month. It's currently with the publisher. It will be out next month and to be in a pack with a training material together. So Muyiwa, wait for that. How do I passively partner with exporter and still make massive money? Rebecca, your question. How do I passively partner with exporter and make massive money? Your question is not clear. How do you passively partner with exporter? Please drop your question on the chat. Maybe we can answer it next week. All right, thank you very much, everyone. See you next week as we continue the export discourse. Have a wonderful weekend. And bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.